You know, sometimes life hands you a moment, a fork in the road where everything just snaps. For me, that moment was Thanksgiving. But it wasn't some sudden, unexpected thing. It was a pressure cooker, simmering for years, and that particular holiday was just when the valve finally blew. I remember the drive to my parents' place in Olympia, Washington, like it was yesterday. The sun was already dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in a bruised purple, and the air was November crisp. Sophia, my wife, had her hand on my knee as we pulled into the driveway. Engine off. The house lights, familiar and yet somehow alien, glowed through the windshield. "Just one disrespectful comment about me," she said, her voice low, but firm. "We handle it together. One direct disrespectful comment about you, we shut it down hard. If it continues, we leave immediately." She squeezed my knee then, a silent promise. I looked at the house. My childhood home. 29 years of memories in that brick facade, under that same porch light. Most of those memories were just echoes, reminding me I'd never quite measure up. "I get it," I told her, the words feeling heavy. "But you know they'll push. They always do." She just smiled. Not a gentle smile, but that dangerous, steely-eyed one that told me she was ready for battle. "That's why we're leaving the second they cross that line, Ethan. You deserve better than this. Let's see if they can behave like adults for 3 hours." We stepped out into the cold. Leaves crunched under our feet, a mournful sound. I grabbed the wine, an expensive bottle, $68. More than my parents, Robert and Margaret, would ever spend, but they wouldn't notice. They never noticed the details when it came to me. The front door opened before we even knocked. My mom, Margaret, stood there, apron on, hands dusted with flour. 54 years old, her hair graying at the temples, eyes tired in a way that had nothing to do with cooking. She hugged me quick, almost too quick, as if afraid someone might see. "Ethan," she murmured. Then, to Sophia, "Glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, my voice flat. Mom looked at me then, really looked. Something flickered across her face, worry, maybe? Or a silent warning. Her eyes darted toward the dining room, then back to me, a tiny shake of her head. I knew exactly what that meant. She knew what was coming. She always knew. And she was asking me to take it again. Her hand lingered on my arm for half a second, not quite a grip, not quite letting go, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Or the courage. Then she stepped back and let us in. The dining room was a sardine can. 14 people crammed around a table built for 8. My father, Robert, held court at the head, as always. 57, his hands still stained black from decades of engine grease and brake fluid. His face, hard, unyielding. Robert Hayes, owner of Hayes Auto Group until 6 months ago, when he sold out because the business was bleeding money he didn't know how to stop. My brothers flanked him. Kevin, 32, service manager at one of the shops. Loud. Always had been. The kind of guy who thought volume equaled authority. Jason, 30, regional supervisor. Quieter, slicker, the type who could gut you with a smile and make it sound like he cared. Uncle David sat near the end, Dad's younger brother, probably the only person in the family with a spine. He gave me a small, acknowledging nod. The rest were the usual suspects, Aunt Sarah, Cousin Chris, a few others whose names I'd stopped tracking years ago because they only showed up for food and gossip. Ethan. Dad didn't stand, didn't smile, just pointed his fork at the empty chairs near the middle. "You're late." "We're exactly on time," I replied. He grunted. "This is Sophia. You've met her 4 times." I pulled out Sophia's chair. She sat. I sat beside her. Kevin grinned. "Looking good, sophomore. You finally get tired of this guy yet?" Sophia returned his smile. It was sharp. "Not yet." Jason leaned forward, all feigned concern. How's the job search going, Ethan? Any bites? I'm not job searching. Oh. He glanced at Kevin. I thought you were still doing that consultant thing. I am doing that consultant thing. Right. Right. He nodded slowly. We're just worried about you, man. That's not really stable work, is it? Everyone was watching. They'd start with soft prods, see if I'd defend myself. See if I'd crack. I just smiled, took a sip of water. Didn't answer. What I hadn't told them, what I'd kept quiet for years, was that I'd spent the last 7 years building something from nothing. I started as an insurance fraud investigator, got good at spotting patterns. Then I started noticing corporate fraud that cost companies millions. I built a consulting firm. My first client paid me $1,200. I found $138,000 in fraudulent payouts in the first month. Word spread. Last year, I sold that firm to Vanguard Risk Solutions for $8.2 million. Then I took a job as their chief risk officer instead. $3.5 million in equity. A corner office. Final say on every major fraud investigation in North America. Dad had no idea. They just knew I worked on a laptop, so it couldn't be real work. And I'd kept it that way. Kept it quiet because I knew this moment would come. The moment they'd pushed too far. The moment I'd finally be done. Just 3 months ago, I found out Vanguard had acquired Hayes Auto Group as part of a bulk portfolio purchase. Which meant my father now worked for a company I had authority over. Richard Vance, Vanguard CEO, was an old mentor from my early investigator days. We'd stayed close. When I mentioned the family situation over drinks, he offered to stop by if he was in town. Not to intervene, just to meet the people I kept describing. I didn't realize how useful his presence would be until the doorbell rang. Kevin was in the middle of talking about his new truck, a $52,000 pickup, how the payments were brutal but worth it, how real men drove real trucks. I drive a 9-year-old Civic, I said. Exactly. Kevin laughed. When are you gonna upgrade, man? You're almost 30. When I need to compensate for something, I'll let you know. Uncle David snorted into his drink, quickly covering it with a cough. Dad cut in. That's your problem, Ethan. Always with the smart mouth. Never with the actual work. I looked at him. What work is that? Real work. He gestured at Kevin and Jason. Your brothers work real jobs. Management, leadership, responsibility. They're building something. But you just sit around investigating people who are probably innocent anyway. Insurance fraud costs the industry $40 billion a year, I stated. Someone has to find it. $40 billion? Jason repeated. Sure. And you're finding what? A few thousand here and there? More or less. See, that's the problem. Dad leaned back. No respect for blue-collar work. No understanding of what it takes to actually build something with your hands. You sold your hands, I said quietly. 6 months ago. Mom's knuckles went white around her fork. She set it down carefully, stood up like she was going to say something, then sat back down. The fight drained out of her before it even started. Because the business wasn't profitable anymore, Dad's voice was tight. Because the market changed, not because I couldn't do the work. Right. Sophia shifted beside me. I could feel the tension in her shoulders. She'd heard these conversations before, usually on the phone after Sunday dinners. I'd stopped attending them in person after the last family gathering where Kevin had made a joke about me being the family charity case. Uncle David set down his fork loud enough that everyone heard it. Robert, maybe we should talk about something else. Why? Dad looked at him. I'm just trying to help the boy. He's 29, not a boy. And he doesn't need your help. David, Mom said quietly, her voice shaking slightly. Please. I'm just saying, Uncle David looked at me, at Sophia, then back at the table. This is the same conversation every time. Maybe it's time for a new approach. Dad's face went red. You want to talk about approaches? How about you stay out of how I handle my family? I'm family, too, Uncle David said. And I'm tired of watching this. Kevin laughed. Watching what? Dad giving Ethan some life advice? Advice? Uncle David repeated. That what we're calling it? What would you call it? Jason asked. Bullying disguised as motivation. Uncle David looked at Dad. You've been doing this to him since he was a kid. Moving the goalposts. Nothing he does is ever good enough because it's not what you did. That's enough, Dad said. Is it, though? Uncle David pushed back. Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like the same pattern it's been for 20 years. Ethan does something. You tear it down. Your boys laugh. Everyone pretends it's normal. Sophia was watching Uncle David like she'd found an unexpected ally. Kevin started to stand up. You know what? I don't need this. Sit down. Dad snapped. Kevin Saturday, listen, Jason tried, his smooth voice cutting in. We're all family here. Let's just enjoy the meal. Then stop treating Ethan like a punchline, Uncle David retorted. He can take a joke, Dad said. Can he? Or is he just tired of defending himself to people who should be supporting him? I looked at Uncle David. Really looked. He was the only one who'd ever done this, ever stood up and called it out. And I could see what it cost him. The way Dad was staring at him, the way Kevin and Jason were glaring, the way even Aunt Sarah was shaking her head. Uncle David was choosing integrity over peace, and they'd make him pay for it later. But right now, in this moment, he was the only real one in the room. The doorbell rang. Who's that? Dad asked. I invited some colleagues, I said, checking my watch. 7:03. Right on time. You invited who? People I work with. I stood. Hope that's okay, Mom. Of course, she said quickly, too quickly, like she was relieved. There's plenty of food. I walked to the door, opened it. Richard Vance stood on the porch, in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Kevin's truck. 58 years old, silver hair, the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet. He carried a bottle of wine. Good evening, Ethan, Richard said warmly. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was worse than expected. No problem at all. Come in. I led him into the dining room. Every eye tracked him like he'd walked in from another dimension. Everyone, I announced. This is Richard Vance. He works with me at Vanguard Risk Solutions. Oh. Mom stood. Please, sit down. We have room. Richard extended his hand to me first, professional, warm, then to the table. Thanks for having me. Ethan mentioned this was a family tradition, and I happened to be in town for meetings tomorrow. Didn't want to impose, but he insisted, he said, addressing the table. I'm Richard Vance, CEO of Vanguard Risk Solutions. Uncle David's fork clattered against his plate. Wait, Kevin said slowly. Vanguard Risk. That's the company that bought Hayes Auto. Correct, I said. 6 months ago. A $2.3 million acquisition, part of Vanguard's portfolio diversification into service industry assets. The color drained from Jason's face. Dad just sat there, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Dad works for Vanguard now, I said conversationally. How's the new management treating you, by the way? Richard caught on to the temperature in the room. His expression shifted from friendly to something more observant, professional. Mr. Robert Hayes, he said, his voice neutral. I wasn't aware you were related to our chief risk officer. Ethan leads risk and compliance for Vanguard. He's a big reason our controls work the way they do. Dad's mouth opened, then closed. No sound came out. Kevin looked like he wanted to disappear. Jason's face had gone completely pale. Uncle David was leaning back in his chair, almost smiling. Jason recovered first, his voice careful. Ethan, listen. We're family, right? You understand how business works, Sophia's voice cut through, sharp. So, are you apologizing or negotiating? Jason stopped. What? Because it sounds like you're asking for favors instead of taking accountability. She leaned forward. We're done being your punching bag and your safety net. I looked at Jason, then at Kevin, then at Dad. No favors, no protection. Business is business. Family is family. And right now, I'm not sure which one you've been worse at. But your family, Kevin said, his voice desperate. That's right, Sophia added. And family doesn't spend 29 years tearing each other down. Her hand found mine under the table. One squeeze. Solidarity. Tell me, Dad, I said quietly. What was that you said about real work? His mouth opened, closed. Still no sound. The man who always had something to say. Because I want to make sure I understand. My voice was steady, calm. Insurance fraud investigation isn't real work. Corporate risk management isn't valuable. But running an auto shop into the ground and selling it before the bottom fell out completely, that's honest labor? Ethan, Mom said quietly. No, Mom. I kept my eyes on Dad. You want to know why Hayes Auto is losing money? Vanguard does pre-acquisition audits on every portfolio company. Standard practice. Hayes Auto had compliance gaps. That's all I'm going to say at a dinner table. Kevin stood up, voice loud. This is ridiculous. Sit down. Dad snapped. Kevin sat. Mom's eyes were filling with tears. She looked down at her plate. Oh, I continued. You thought I didn't notice that Sophia didn't notice? Kevin making jokes. Jason asking if she's tired of me yet. Dad not even looking at her when she speaks. You think that's normal? It's just joking around, Kevin mumbled. Is it? Yeah, man, Jason added. Don't be so sensitive. Sophia spoke up. I've sat through 4 of these dinners. Every single one, someone makes a comment about Ethan being a dreamer, a charity case, not a real worker. Every single one, I watch you tear him down. And every single one, I say nothing because Ethan asked me to let him handle it. She looked at Dad, then Kevin, then Jason. But I'm done being quiet. You want to mock Ethan? Fine. He can handle himself. But don't pretend you're family while you do it. Kevin let out a nervous laugh. Who are you to tell us how family operates? I'm the person who's been documenting every single comment for the past year, Sophia said. Dates, quotes, witnesses. Because I had a feeling we'd need it eventually. For what? Jason asked. For when this stops being ignorable. Dad finally found his voice. Ethan, I think you're overreacting. Am I? I turned to Richard. How much did I make last year? Richard hesitated. Ethan, it's fine. Tell them. Base salary $215,000 with equity vesting. Total compensation just under $900,000. And the sale of my consulting firm? 8.2 million. My current equity stake? 3.5 million at current valuation. Uncle David whistled low. Mom was staring at me, tears running down her face. Dad looked like he'd been hit with a truck. But you drive a Civic, Kevin whispered. I don't need to prove anything with a car, I said. I rent because I travel 200 days a year. I don't have kids because Sophia and I agreed to build our careers first. But none of that matters to you because I don't fit your definition of success. Jason stared at his plate. Kevin's face had gone red. Dad just sat there, smaller now, diminished. Sophia, Kevin started. Don't, she said, sharp. Don't talk to me. Don't apologize to me. Don't try to smooth this over. You've shown us who you are for years. We believe you now. Aunt Sarah spoke up from down the table. Maybe we should all just calm down. Maybe you should mind your business, Uncle David said. This needed to happen 5 years ago. David, Mom pleaded. Please. No, Margaret. He looked at her. You know this is wrong. You've always known. Mom looked down, didn't respond. Her hands were shaking. Richard stood. Ethan, I think we should go. Yeah. I stood, too, helped Sophia with her chair. Mom, thanks for dinner. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your evening. Wait. Dad stood, his voice desperate. Ethan, please. I didn't mean, yes, you did. I cut him off. You always mean it. That's the problem. You've spent my entire life making sure I knew I wasn't enough. That nothing I did would ever be as valuable as what you did. That I was a disappointment. I was trying to motivate you. Motivate me? I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Dad, I sold a company for $8 million. I have decision-making authority over a portfolio worth $500 million. I make more in a year than you made in your entire career. But none of that matters because you decided when I was 12 that I'd never be a real man. Jason stood up. Ethan, come on. We're sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry the CEO of my company is standing in this room watching you realize how wrong you've been. But you're not sorry for the years of mockery. Sophia took my hand. We walked toward the door. Ethan, Mom's voice was broken. Please, don't go. I looked back. She was standing now, tears streaming, hands shaking. You knew, I said quietly. Didn't you? You've known for months since the acquisition. Since you saw the paperwork and realized what I'd built. And you said nothing. You let them keep tearing me down because you were afraid of him. I was trying to protect you, she whispered. From what? My own family? She flinched. Uncle David stood. Ethan. He paused. I'm sorry. I should have done more. Called it out sooner. But for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you built, who you are. Your father's a fool and your brothers are cowards, and you deserved better than this. Thanks, David. We walked out. Richard followed. Richard spoke first. Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was that bad. It's fine. It needed to happen. If there's anything I can do, if compliance finds issues at Hayes Auto, I interrupted, handle it through normal channels. No special treatment, no protection, just standard process. Understood. He got in his Mercedes, drove away. Sophia and I sat in the Civic for a long minute. Engine running, heat starting to kick in. She looked at me. You okay? Yeah. I think I am. That was intense. That was overdue. Your mom knew for months apparently and said nothing. She was afraid, I said. Of him. Of losing her marriage. Of making waves. I get it. Do you? I thought about it. No. Not really. But I understand the fear, even if I don't respect the choice. Fair. I looked at the house. Warm light glowing through the windows. I could see shapes moving inside. Probably Robert yelling. Probably Kevin and Jason defending themselves. Probably Uncle David telling them all exactly how they'd earned this. We drove home to Portland, Oregon, in silence. The calls started at 6 a.m. the next morning. Dad, Kevin, Jason, Mom. I declined them all. Texts followed. Apologies that weren't apologies. Guilt dressed as concern. Jason tried going through Sophia. She blocked him instantly. Uncle David texted, * they're telling everyone you lost it. I'm setting the record straight, * me, what did Dad say, Frank, * that I'm not welcome anymore. Told him good. Tired of pretending this is normal, * Aunt Sarah left a voicemail about family being family. Deleted. Cousin Chris asked for $2,000. Blocked. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Dad, using David's phone. I hung up and blocked it, too. The harassment escalated fast. On Thursday, Kevin showed up at my office in Seattle, demanding to see me. Security removed him. That afternoon, Jason's wife ambushed Sophia in her firm's parking lot in Denver. Sophia recorded it, told her to stay away, and kept walking. Friday, 3 a.m., pounding on our apartment door. Kevin, drunk, shouting threats. We called 911. He was arrested. I pressed charges. Mom called the next morning. You got your brother arrested. Kevin got himself arrested. He's struggling. Jason's struggling. Your father is barely functioning. That's on them, Mom. Not me. You could fix this. No, I can't. And I won't. You're destroying this family. I didn't destroy anything. You all did that yourselves. I hung up. We filed for restraining orders. The process dragged for 3 weeks. During that time, they tried showing up twice more. Security removed them again. Jason sent so many messages from new numbers, I stopped counting. In early January, the orders were approved, 6 months, no contact, 500 feet. Then, silence. Work steadied. I closed 2 major cases, saved clients millions, and got promoted to Executive Vice President of Risk and Compliance. Sophia made partner. Life felt normal again. 3 weeks into the quiet, my assistant buzzed me. Compliance needs you. Hayes auto file. My stomach dropped. What did they find? Significant irregularities. They want your sign-off to escalate to legal. Exactly what I'd hoped wouldn't happen. Send it to Richard Vance's office, I said. I'm recused. Family conflict. 2 days later, Richard called. Ethan. We need to talk about Hayes Auto. What did you find? Fraudulent billing, ghost employees, inflated parts charges. 18 months worth. Kevin and Jason are directly implicated. Your father, negligence, not intent. I shut my eyes. Recommendations? Terminations, criminal referrals. Standard protocol. Then follow standard protocol. I'm recused. Already noted. I just wanted you to know. Thanks. After I hung up, I sat there, staring at my desk. I hadn't touched the outcome. I'd only removed myself from influencing it. Whatever happened next was theirs, not mine. Sophia called. Lunch? Can't. Work thing. You okay? No. I'll tell you tonight. That evening, I explained everything. She listened without interrupting. Finally, she said, "You didn't do this." I know. They did. They committed fraud. They got caught. That's on them. I know, but what? You feel guilty? A little. Don't. She leaned closer. They spent years making you feel small. Now they're facing consequences for their decisions, and you want to rescue them. No, then don't. Let the process play out. She was right. I knew she was right. But they were still my family, and watching them implode hurt more than I expected. 2 weeks later, the termination letters went out. Kevin. First. Jason, an hour after. Dad was demoted to lot supervisor with a performance plan. Kevin, are you kidding me? Jason, this is insane. Dad, Ethan, what did you do? I didn't respond. The restraining orders were still active. Uncle David texted, * they're losing it, blaming you even though you recused yourself. Kevin's lawyer says he's facing charges. Jason's wife left him, * the spiral hit fast. Kevin moved back in with my parents. Jason couldn't get hired anywhere. Dad went to work and came home in silence. For months passed that way. Quiet on their end. Peaceful on mine. I got promoted again, expanding my role to global risk and compliance. Sophia won a major case. We took a trip to Iceland, hiked, breathed, actually lived. The restraining orders expired in June. I didn't renew them. There was no reason to. They'd gone quiet. A week later, a handwritten envelope appeared in our mailbox. Mom's handwriting, addressed to both of us. I opened it at the counter while Sophia read over my shoulder. Ethan and Sophia, * I know I have no right to ask anything, but I'm asking for one thing, a conversation. I won't explain or defend myself. I only want to say I see the damage now and I'm ashamed of my part in it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want the chance to apologize honestly in person, without minimizing anything. If you're willing, tell me when and where. If not, I understand. * Mom. Sophia set the letter down. She's not justifying anything. That's new. You want to meet her? I asked. Only if you're with me. Always. Then we set the terms. Public place. 1 hour. If she slips, we leave. Done. I texted Mom from a number she wouldn't recognize. This is Ethan. Saturday, 2 p.m. Coffee shop on Maple and Elm. 1 hour. No excuses. No justification. She replied almost immediately, * I'll be there. Thank you, * Saturday. Sophia and I arrived early. Corner table. Clear exits. Coffees untouched. Mom walked in exactly at 2, smaller than I remembered. Like she'd finally stopped pretending everything was fine. She sat without trying to hug either of us. I owe you an apology, she said to Sophia first. I watched them treat you terribly and I said nothing. I let them mock Ethan in front of you. I let them erase you. That was wrong. I'm sorry. Sophia nodded but didn't speak. Then Mom turned to me. And I owe you honesty. She took a breath. When I married your father, I thought I could soften him. I couldn't. He hardened and I adapted to survive him. When you were born, quiet, thoughtful, not like the others, he called it weakness. He said you needed toughening. I should have fought him. I didn't. She shook her head. I was raised to keep peace at any cost. A good wife doesn't contradict her husband. A good mother doesn't undermine the father. So, I stayed quiet. And the longer I stayed quiet, the easier it became. Sophia watched her carefully. No sympathy yet, just measuring the truth. Mom continued, when I found out about your company, the sale, the success. I was proud. But I said nothing because I was afraid of what your father would do if he knew I knew first. I've lived 30 years managing his anger. I let that matter more than defending my son. Her voice wavered. I watched you walk into Thanksgiving knowing exactly how it would go. I didn't try to stop it. I didn't stand up when they mocked you or when they dismissed Sophia. I just sat there pretending nothing was wrong because that's what I'd been doing for decades. She met my eyes. You were right, Ethan. I was a coward. She didn't look away. After you left, everything fell apart. Kevin lost his job and his marriage. Jason lost his reputation. Your father lost everything and still couldn't admit why. And I realized I helped create this. Not through action, but through silence. Sophia finally asked, why now? Because I hit bottom. Mom said. I left your father. I started therapy. I'm learning how to be someone different, someone honest. I'm not asking to undo anything. I just want the chance to be better than I was. I let the quiet settle. What does better look like to you? I asked. A relationship I earn. Slowly. Carefully. Maybe coffee once a month. Maybe nothing more. Your pace, not mine. And if I slip, excuses, minimization, any of it, then we're done. And I won't blame you. Sophia looked at me. I gave her the choice. She nodded. One condition, I said. Anything. You tell Dad and the boys the truth. All of it. No softening. No protecting their feelings. She nodded immediately. I will. All right, I said. One coffee next month. Same place. We'll see where it goes. Relief and grief hit her at the same time. She didn't ask for a hug. Didn't push for more. Thank you, she said simply. We spent the rest of the hour on small talk, work, travel, life. She didn't cry. She just stayed present. When time was up, she stood. I'll see you. Next month. And she left without trying to make it more than it was. Sophia and I walked to our car in silence, both of us knowing the same thing, this wasn't forgiveness. It was the first honest step she'd ever taken. Our second coffee happened in July. Then a third in August. Mom was different. Honest. No excuses. She talked about therapy, about recognizing patterns, about how she'd enabled Robert's behavior by staying silent. In October, Mom told me she'd confronted them. Robert yelled. Kevin called her a traitor. Jason cried. But she'd said everything she promised. Kevin blamed you for ruining his life, she said. I told him you didn't forge his signature on fake invoices. Jason said you could have protected him. I told him you recused yourself and that he should have thought about consequences before he committed fraud. How's Dad taking it? Not well. He's lost 20 pounds. Goes to work, comes home, sits in silence. I think he's finally realizing what he destroyed, but he's too proud to admit it out loud. Think he ever will? I don't know. Maybe. But that's his journey now, not mine. November came. 1 year since that Thanksgiving. Uncle David called. Kevin and Jason want to apologize to both of you. I talked to Sophia. We agreed to one meeting. Public place, our terms. Saturday. Blake and Troy showed up looking rough. Jason had lost weight. Kevin's eyes were bloodshot. They sat across from us at the same coffee shop. Jason spoke first. His voice shook slightly. I treated you both terribly. Made jokes about Ethan to make Dad laugh. Ignored Sophia like she wasn't even there. Made you feel unwelcome in your own family. I did it because, he stopped, took a breath. Because it was easier than standing up to Dad. That was cowardice. I'm sorry. Kevin followed. Yeah, same. I was jealous of you. Of what you built, of Sophia, of everything you had. So I tore you down to make myself feel bigger. That was wrong. Sophia watched them. Why are you sorry? Like, really? What changed? Jason's face went red. He started to speak, stopped, started again. Because I lost everything. My job, my wife, my reputation. And I realized none of it would have happened if I'd just been honest from the start. If I'd stood up for Ethan instead of piling on. If I'd done the right thing instead of the easy thing. Kevin nodded. I'm in therapy now. Court mandated. And my therapist asked me who I was angry at. I said, you. She asked why. And I realized I wasn't angry at you. I was angry at myself for not being you. Sophia looked at me. I nodded. I don't forgive you, Sophia said, her voice calm but firm. But I'll give you one chance. One dinner next month. You screw it up, we're done. You make one joke, one dismissive comment, one anything that reminds me of how you treated us before, and you never hear from us again. They nodded. Fair. They turned to me. I'm sorry, Jason said. For everything. For the Thanksgiving dinner. For not standing up when it mattered. Kevin's voice cracked. I'm sorry for being a coward. For being jealous. For making your life harder when I should have made it better. One dinner, I said. We'll see. The dinner happened at Mom's new apartment in Tacoma, Washington, in December. Stilted at first, nobody knew quite what to say. But Jason asked real questions about my work. Kevin congratulated Sophia on her promotion. Mom kept things on track. January. Dad showed up at Mom's apartment while we were having our monthly coffee. A soft knock. Mom froze. That's your father. How do you know? I know his knock. She opened the door with the chain still on. Dad stood there, older, smaller, like the year had hollowed him out. Gray hair, drawn face, shoulders dropped. Margaret, he rasped. Is Ethan here? He is. Can I talk to him? Mom looked back at me. I shook my head. He says no, Robert. Please. 5 minutes. I stood, walked to the door, chain still locked. What do you want to apologize for? You've had a year to apologize. You blamed me instead. I know I was wrong. You're still wrong. You're here because you bottomed out, not because you understand what you did. He swallowed. You're right. I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it, I said. You can only decide whether you want to become someone worth reconciling with. How? That's your work, not mine. Ask Mom. She's doing it. Learn from her. She left me. Because you gave her no choice. He flinched. Dad, I said quietly. You spent my whole life telling me I wasn't enough. That real work meant your work. That success only counted if it matched your idea of it. You made me feel small. You made Sophia feel invisible. You didn't lose your family. You drove them away. I was trying to toughen you up. No. You were trying to feel bigger by making me feel smaller. Silence. If you want any chance at rebuilding anything, here's what has to happen. 1. Real responsibility. No self-pity. 2. Apologize to Sophia. Not me, her. 3. Stop blaming me for your son's choices. Kevin and Jason committed fraud. That's on them. You enabled them. That's on you. He stood there taking it. Really taking it for the first time in my life. If you can do those things, I said, and prove you're different when no one's watching, then maybe we talk. Until then, stay away from me and my wife. I closed the door. Mom wiped her eyes. That was hard to watch. It was necessary. Sophia touched my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. Dad didn't come back for 3 weeks. Mom called. He wants to apologize to Sophia in person. I looked at Sophia. Your call. Let him try. We met at a different coffee shop. Dad was already there. Sophia sat across from him. His voice shook. I treated you terribly. I let my sons do worse. You deserved respect. I gave you none. I was threatened by Ethan's success. And you were part of that. It was cowardice. I'm ashamed. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear it. Sophia held his gaze, nodded once, and stood. We left. In the car, she said, better than I expected. Yeah. Doesn't change anything. No. But it's a start. March, 16 months after that Thanksgiving. Jason found steady work. Kevin started teaching automotive skills to at-risk kids. Mom kept doing the work. David stayed David. Sophia got promoted. So did I. Life steadied. And somewhere in that quiet, I realized something. I didn't need them to change for me to be okay. Their healing wasn't my responsibility. Mine was. For the first time, my worth wasn't tied to their approval or their apologies. That was freedom. In April, Dad sent a letter. Ethan, I finally understand what I did. I tried to make you into me. And when you became yourself, I punished you for it. I called it motivation. It was cruelty. I lost our relationship, my business, and my marriage because I was too proud to change. Your mother showed more courage than I ever have. I'm trying to be a different man, one who's proud of his son instead of threatened by him. I'm sorry for all of it. If there's a path forward, I'll walk it. Dad. Sophia read it. You responding eventually? He needs time to prove it. Life went on. Work, friends, small joys. And with each ordinary day, reconciliation stopped feeling like a test I had to pass and started feeling like a choice I didn't have to hurry. I wasn't waiting for them to define me anymore. I had already built a life worth living with someone who loved me on my own terms. And that was enough. What would you have done differently if you were in my shoes?